Welcome back to Red Rock Chess, everyone. Today we're going to be going over how you guys can be thinking like a grandmaster, and we're going to be reviewing some gameplay and going through it together, seeing what you guys can be doing to better develop your mindset when playing chess, and how you guys can start to blunder a little bit less and play a little bit better. So let's get right into the video. So, to start off, we are going to be analyzing the game through the white pieces. So this game is really good, and what I want you guys to be looking for is how you guys can be developing your gameplay, thinking a little bit slower but playing a little bit better. And this game is going to be a game played by the queen's pawn opening. And what that means is just the queen right here, whenever the pawn moves in the beginning of the game, this is considered the queen's pawn opening. And black, the majority of the time, usually counters it by moving the same piece. You'll notice a lot that the king's pawn opening is a very popular move. But for a lot of advanced players, the queen's pawn is also a very high level move and leads to a lot of very good games. There's all like the London system right here. There's the queen's pawn gambit. There's a lot of different options that white has to play the game. And depending on how black plays, it leads to a very interesting game. So in this game, we are introduced with what's called the queen's pawn gambit. And the reason why this is such a good game is because black has a couple options different here. They can take this pawn right here and let white have full control of the center. They can also make moves like pushing this pawn right here to defend. To defend right here. There is this knight coming out to defend that right here. There is the opportunity for the bishop to come out right here. A couple different options, and in this case, the majority of the time at higher level, if you feel confident with yourself, they usually take and accept. This is what's called the queen's gambit accepted. There is the declined variation, but in this case it is accepted. If you guys are new to chess, try to not play the accepted variation just because it's a little bit harder and it requires a little bit more of theory knowledge. So in this case, white does push their pawn up to connect their pawn right here, create a chain link right here. But the real reason why is because it opens the bishop up to attack the c4 pawn right here, capture it, pick it back up, and also at the same time develop. And it's just awkward because white doesn't really want to be pushing their pawn right here to defend. It just creates a weakness because white can just be pushing their pawns right here, creating some problems, and it won't look good for black. So in this case, black does decide to push this right here, and I'm thinking the reason behind it is he knows that white is going to be taking this bishop right here. So his thought process is maybe in the future being able to kick that bishop out and just creating some good gameplay for black. And in this case, white just picks up that pawn, develops the bishop, and now the next moves for white are going to be just developing their pieces, kind of like bringing the pieces into the game, castling, and just starting the game off strong. And for black, the best thing that they could have done was move their knight out to f6, and the reason being is because they just need to start developing their game and castling. That is what black's priority should be, and it should really always be focused on getting your king into safety. But at the same time, there is lots of good moves that black could also be making right now, developing their pieces into the game, everything like that. White just decides to move their knight to f3, and the reason for this is super simple, and it's to castle. And if you guys are new to castling, here in one moment I'll be explaining what castling is, how you guys can be castling, and this is what a lot of grandmasters try and do. They try and castle within the first 10 moves of the game. If you guys are trying to learn how to play chess, castling is something that protects your king while also activating your rook a little bit better, and I'll explain it here momentarily. So black decides to push their pawn into the e6 square, and the reason for this, it does trap their white bishop, which will cost them later in the game. You guys will see. But the real reason why black decided to do this is to potentially bring their bishop out to one of these two squares right here, yeah, either to the b4 square or to the e7 square, and then just castles the king. And this move right here is just like a placeholder move, but the real reason is it just connects this queen right here with the bishop, protects that, and it also just creates really a strong center of the board. And now is when both players decide to castle. And so castling, there are three things that you need to know about castling to develop your skills. So castling is when a king and a rook decide to switch places, and it's considered one move. And there's very few times where you can make there's no other times where you can move two pieces and consider it one move. So in this case, the king slides over two and the rook slides over to the opposite direction. And number 2 out of 3 that you need to take into consideration is that you cannot castle when there are pieces in between. So in this case, you could see that there is nothing in between the rook and the king on the king side. But on the queen side, you are not able to castle because there is a knight and a bishop in the way. So you would have to develop your pieces to be able to castle on the king side, the queen side. So the third one, and one of the other most important ones, is that you cannot castle out of check. And what I mean by that is, say that the black bishop came right here to put a check on the king. You could just be thinking, oh, let me just castle out right here and just bring my king into safety, and the bishop will be attacking me. That is unfortunately not how that works. You could block the check first and then decide to castle, but you have to have your king not in check and under those certain stipulations to be able to castle. And the best thing that you can try and do is castle within the first 10 moves of the game, to be able to bring your king to safety and start moving forward with an attack. And this right here, this is move 7 for both players right here, where both players decided to castle. And this is a very, very strong move. If you can ever bring both your pawns into the center of the board, this is considered really, really well fundamentally. And white is just looking to create so much problems for black here in the nearby future. Black right now should be trying to bring their pieces into the game. Just trying to create some strong play right here. You could also be looking at like bringing out your pawn right there to start and create some defense before white starts applying lots of pressure. And the reason why black decided to play on the queen side of the board right here is to just attack the bishop. The bishop has only 2 options, to slide back right here to b3 or d3, and take one moment to think which one is better. I'll let you guys think. Now that you guys had some time to think, the reason why this is usually a better move is for the reason when you try and push this pawn right here, it creates what's called a discovered attack on the king side right here. And if you were to bring your bishop back right here, you are just eyeing a huge wall of pawns right there. So not necessarily the best case scenario. So a better case is to bring the bishop back right here, and when you do decide to push this pawn forward right here, you will have this bishop eyeing the king. You'll have the queen coming up right here, creating some threats. And so this player does decide to pivot their bishop back to the d3 square, and black has not a lot of options right here, but some options are just moving the bishop out right here to create some counterplay right here. There is the option just to play very passive right here, not let the bishop get out right there. But in this case, they decide to push this pawn, which is not a really great move. And the reason being for that is it's too passive. It's not attacking or applying a pressure on white's attack. And they punish them by taking this pawn right here. And when black recaptures, it's just a matter of pushing this pawn right here to create a weakness for black. And the reason why is because black cannot really go out to the side of the board. That would not be good for him. If he does decide to go back out right here, it'll just immediately get kicked out, and that is just not good for black. They could go right here, but this just blocks a lot of opportunity for the queen to start doing what they need to do. And so what the best move for black is just pivoting their black knight. It is defended by the pawn right here, so just creating a strong black center right there. And that's exactly what the black player does. And the reason why this following move is so good is because it forces black to immediately resign the game. And you might be thinking, what move is this? I'm going to give you guys 1 minute to try and think in your mind what move you guys would make. Would you guys be making a move like this? Would you guys be moving this right here? Would you guys be moving the queen right here? Would you guys be bringing the bishop out? What would you guys be doing in this moment? I'll give you 1 minute to pause the video, subscribe, leave a comment in the comment section what move you guys would be making, and feel free to pause the video right now. Awesome. So with you guys having time to think about that, the move that this player makes, and it is a phenomenal, brilliant move, is sacrificing the white bishop. And you might be thinking, why is this such a good move? And the reason for it is because it leaves the king with two options, either to slide or to take. And the reason why taking is not a good idea is because after takes, white puts it puts the black king in check, the black king in check, and when he slides back, this just brings the king out, and then that right there is checkmate, and that is forced if he takes the bishop. So the alternative for black is to move the king over to the h8 square, and it is just not looking good because after the knight comes into the g5 square, it is just lethal. This defends the bishop. This right here cannot be taken because it is defended right here by the the white bishop right here on the dark squares. And we just have queen coming in right here, and this is just going to be absolutely lethal. There is moves. If the queen does like move out right here, and then there's just a passive move right here, there is just opportunities to sack right here, play checkmate. So black has to be really, really careful right here in this situation. So what black decides to do is they try to create a measure of attack right here where black can just be able to have an escape pawn or escape square for the king. It traps in this bishop right here from ever coming back, and so it's a good move. But it is just not good enough because white is just going to keep attacking the black king. And that's what you guys want to be looking out for. You want to be looking out for what things you can either sacrifice, things that you can either put in a better square just to apply pressure. You want to be thinking, how can I be thinking at least 2 moves ahead, if possible, to try and create some play where you can win the game ultimately. And this is what white does. They're thinking right here, it is just an absolutely lethal move for black. And so the next couple moves for white, they're going to be looking right here to sacrifice and just kind of just bring and deliver checkmate. Black's only hope right now is to kind of just bring the pieces in, but it is not good enough because after the king slides, this queen is just going to come right over and just create huge problems for black. And black right now is thinking, oh, I have an easy way to defend. I'm just going to be moving my rook, and he can't move that bishop now because I'm just going to be taking his queen. But that is where he is all wrong. And the reason for that is because after this, black just resigns the game after this move. This move is such a strong move. And you might be asking, there is nothing defending this knight. And you would be absolutely correct. He could take it with the bishop. He could take it with the pawn. And it just won't matter. Because in this example, say he took it with the pawn right here. The reason why this is just such a strong move is because of this move right here. You can move the queen right over and just start it. This puts in king. The only move for the king right here is to put this king right here, and this is where this pawn right here is taken by the queen, the only available move right here, and that is when it just all comes downhill right here. There's just such lethal moves where you can just be putting the king in really desperate squares, and it's just not looking good. And there is eventual mate. So black does decide to resign, and I hope this video is very informative for you guys. If you guys do want to see any more videos, please make sure to drop down in the comments what you guys want to learn next. That helps me out a ton. Please also make sure to subscribe to help me promote the game of chess. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your afternoon. Thank you guys for watching.